Good morning. Today is lesson 101 in the Course in Miracles. God's will for me is perfect happiness. Today we will continue with the theme of happiness. This is a key idea in understanding what salvation means. You still believe it asks for suffering as penance for your sins. This is not so, yet you must think it so while you believe that sin is real and that God's Son can sin. If sin is real, then punishment is just and cannot be escaped. Salvation, thus, cannot be purchased but through suffering. If sin is real, then happiness must be an illusion, for they cannot both be true. The sinful warrant only death and pain, and it is this they ask for. For they know it waits for them, and it will seek them out and find them somewhere, sometime, and in some form that evens the account they owe to God. They would escape him in their fear, and yet he will pursue, and they cannot escape. If sin is real, salvation must be pain. Pain is the cost of sin, and suffering can never be escaped if sin is real. Salvation must be feared, for it will kill, but slowly, taking everything away before it grants the welcome boon of death to victims who are little more than bones before salvation is appeased. Its wrath is boundless, merciless, but wholly just. Who would seek out such savage punishment? Who would not flee salvation and attempt in every way he can to drown the voice which offers it to him? Why would he try to listen and accept its offering? If sin is real, its offering is death, and meted out in cruel form to match the vicious wishes in which sin is born. If sin is real, salvation has become your bitter enemy, the curse of God upon you who have crucified his Son. You need the practice periods today. The exercises teach sin is not real, and all that you believe must come from sin will never happen, for it has no cause. Accept atonement with an open mind, which cherishes no lingering belief that you have made a devil of God's Son. There is no sin. We practice with this thought as often as we can today, because it is the basis for today's idea. God's will for you is perfect happiness, because there is no sin, and suffering is causeless. Joy is just, and pain is but the sign you must have misunderstood yourself. Fear not the will of God, but turn to it in confidence that it will set you free from all the consequences sin has wrought in feverish imagination. Say this: God's will for me is perfect happiness. There is no sin. It has no consequence. So should you start your practice periods and then attempt again to find the joy these thoughts will introduce into your mind. Give these 5 minutes gladly to remove the heavy load you lay upon yourself with the insane belief that sin is real. Today, escape from the madness. You are set on freedom's road, and now today's idea brings wings to speed you on and hope to go still faster to the waiting goal of peace. There is no sin. Remember this today and tell yourself as often as you can, God's will for me is perfect happiness. This is the truth because there is no sin. I'm just going to go on and read Tina Spalding's channelings. This is a powerful message, and this is one that people may struggle with, especially if you were brought up with that firm belief that we are sinful by nature. You are blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know as Jesus. Sin is not real. If sin is real, you are more powerful than God. You are able to do something that God cannot stop you from doing. Do you think you are that powerful? You are indeed a powerful creator, no doubt about it, but not as powerful as the Father. You are made in his image indeed. In giving you his image, he has given you the ability to do what you want, to create or miscreate along whatever lines you feel necessary, but you cannot overpower the source of all that is. If something has been done to you or by you, or you've witnessed something, you must remember you are given absolute freedom. You are not punished for following the guidance you think is true. Anyone who does anything thinks it's right and that it brings what it desired. People think it brings them closer to their goals, whatever their goals are. So many of you, dear ones, have had your minds so contaminated with untruths that you cannot discern that you are off track. You have been so deeply indoctrinated through fear and mental and psychic manipulation that you simply cannot discern. Through this process, on this path with us here today, doing these lessons, shifting your consciousness, changing your mind, and practicing loving thoughts and ideas, the dirt, dust, and mud on top of your clear mind is removed and you receive true guidance. You get a feeling, this is something that I should do. I don't know why I have this feeling, but this is an important thing for me to do. That is how guidance begins. You get this subtle itch, a little nagging of something or other that points you towards something. It will not be strong enough in the beginning to override all the contamination in your mind. You see, as time goes by, this message gets stronger and stronger. It is there consistently, not pushing, yelling, or arguing, but it is there. In the end, it becomes strong enough for you to listen and say, this is something I'm going to do. You might have to fit it around your schedule. You may have to rearrange some things to get this idea, but you can just entertain ideas. This is one of the beautiful things about your consciousness. You can just think about a thing. You can envision yourself doing that thing. You can imagine yourself feeling good doing that thing that you are now inspired to do. It could be writing a book. It could be traveling. It could be growing a beautiful flower garden. It could be anything. You get the feel of it just by imagining it, just allowing it some space in your consciousness. This is one of the reasons we tell you not to talk on your phones all the time. Sit on a park bench and look at the ducks swimming in the pond without the phone in your hand, without the texts pinging all the time and distracting you from what is right in front of you. It is, in fact, the holy instant where you can create what you want to experience. This is one of the sabotaging effects of these technologies that you carry with you all the time. You never have freedom to just be, to quiet the mind, gaze at the horizon, and allow those inspired ideas to surface in your mind. The next time you go for a walk, turn off your phone or leave it at home. It will still be there when you get back. Witness how much more peace you have. Witness what you see. You don't need to be hooked in all the time to messaging systems such as exist in your society now. We know this is a difficult one for many of you because your business and relationships seem to depend on these constant interactions. We will tell you that an hour out in the woods without your phone does nothing but improve your connection to the divine. I am that one that you know as Jesus, and we will speak to you again tomorrow. Sin is not real. We cannot overpower God. We cannot make a decision that would be against the full will of God. We can be mistaken. We can miscreate, which is really what this world is for. This is the miscreation of God's will. This is the mistake. But God's will for us is perfect happiness, which means we can have that happiness even here, even now, even in this world that appears to be nothing but problems and sin and pain and suffering. That was the message that Jesus was trying to convey to us. We are not our bodies. We are not anchored to one experience. Yes, we have chosen our experiences here. We have chosen the lessons that we will learn, but in those lessons, we come to understand our free will, and we come to understand that no lesson, no situation can define us. We get to choose how we respond. And when we begin to choose happiness, we begin to understand that as we choose happiness, as we choose the love, as we choose the lesson, as we choose to learn how we are disconnecting from love, and then we move closer to love, situations change. We do not get as distressed by things that come up. We do not get overwhelmed by what used to throw us into a tailspin for weeks. We do not even react to some things that used to rule our lives. I was, at a young age, I was very wrapped into my own non-worthiness of any good thing. And I was very anxious and I was very upset much of the time. And I could project horrid outcomes to almost anything. And if I wanted something, I knew that I would be knocked down and I knew that it would not happen and I knew that I would meet resistance. When I've gotten older, what I have realized is the resistance that I was meeting was very valid, but it was my own. It was not anybody else's because I've always had the choice. And so if you have desires, let yourself imagine. If you are not living the life that you absolutely want to live, if you do not have peace in your day, begin to ask yourself, what would a perfect day look like? Because if you cannot think it, you cannot create it. It doesn't mean it has to be the exact image of what you create in your mind, because that's when the universe steps in and helps you co-create things. And that's why we say this or something even better is already true. And so if I think I want $1 million and I ask for $1 million, but the universe knows that something better would be could manifest for me, and I am addicted to, I'm attached to that outcome, I may get the $1 million, but I'm going to miss other opportunities that the universe might give me. Marianne Williamson, back in must have been the 80s or 90s, was using the example that if you want to be an actor and you want a regular part on, we'll say, The Big Bang Theory, she used a different show. I have a regular part in The Big Bang Theory. I have a regular part in The Big Bang Theory. I have a regular part in The Big Bang Theory. And you may get that regular part, but what you have missed by making it that one show is the fact that you may have gotten a multi-million-dollar movie contract if you would have allowed the universe that or something better. And so realize that our ability to create starts with us, and then we join in with that oneness in the world, that connectedness of all that is, and it can sort of rearrange itself a little bit to make something even better than we could have imagined, because we're still imagining sort of through this separated self. There is no sin. There is no sin. There is no sin. There are mistakes, and mistakes are to be corrected. There is nothing that is to be punished. And I think if you can hold on to that, and if you can breathe that in, then even some of us who have felt that we are to be punished for our entire life may realize that we can change our mind now. I hope you find the happiness today that starts within you, that comes from your heart, that comes from living your dream. I'll see you again later. Take care. Bye.